Mariah, a deep whispering, playful voice sang, waking me. A warm male body pressed against my back, and a kiss gently landed on the skin at the base of my neck. Mariah, he huffed right into my ear. What? I groaned and squeezed my pillow, ignoring how much that voice grated my insides. I'm sleeping, I groaned. Say it fast and go away. There was a laugh at my whine. Then he moved in front of me, saying, but it's Sunday. I thought Sunday. He said, let's do this before the kids burst in and make us miss our Sunday morning alone time. I'm so ready to do fun and sin-filled things to your body, sweetness. I groaned again and peeked an eye open. A man's naked chest hit my vision. I snapped, do you know how tired I am still? Yesterday exhausted me, and you were basically no help through it all. He whispered, oh, come on. Do you know how hard it was? No, how hard I was watching you all day in that red swimsuit while trying to control my body's reaction. Your ass alone. Christ. No more pool parties, Mariah. Save that shit for when we're alone. I giggled. It was your idea to celebrate finally being all moved in with a pool party. A cell went off. He snorted, if I suggest that again, pop my head as Catherine does to Matthew. I frowned. Why didn't that sentence sound right? The ringing stopped and he said, Ethan Harvey. I sat up and stared at his chest. Everything felt off. Wrong. Ethan sighed, right? I'll sync with Ms. Juarez this afternoon. Is she abreast of the specifics? I jumped out of bed staring at him as he carried on his conversation half naked. Frowning, I looked around the room. I turned to the massive window, which was showing that the clear sky was already leaving dawn behind. I gasped at its splendid yet unfamiliar view. This was not my home. Mariah, Ethan called. Come back to bed. I have to put in hours after service and go right after lunch, sweetness. We have to do this now. This felt dirty and beyond wrong. I swallowed and asked, do? What exactly? Grinning, Ethan moved the sheet. He had an erection. It was prominent in his boxer briefs, and only moments before it had been pressed against my backside. I gasped, wanting to hurl when it appeared he was going to show it to me. Ethan's low voice said, take care of this like we do every Sunday morning. He chuckled. It makes me so much more relaxed in church, and you hold a huge smile for the rest of the day. It matches mine every time. Something was wrong. My stomach lurched, my hand covered my mouth, and I ran to what I hoped was a bathroom and slammed the door. It was an obscenely large closet full of men's clothing. Breathing hard, I ran out of there. Ignoring Ethan, I rushed to another door to the left of the former, but that was the exit to the hall. Frustrated, I slammed that door. I sped to another one on the far wall past the other two, and was relieved that it was the bathroom. With no time to close the door, I raced in and found the commode in the nick of time. Mariah, Ethan called and held my hair. Sweetness, is it the baby? I heard water flowing followed by children's laughter and little running feet and hurled again. It must be. Ethan sighed, patting my neck with a cool towel. Oh, damn, the kids are awake now. They must have heard our door slam. I'll hold them off. Your nausea meds and water are on your table. I frowned. Baby. Ethan answered, yeah? Ugh. No, that was not right. I scoffed into the commode and said, no, I meant what baby? Laughing, Ethan asked, did you forget you're pregnant again? It was a shocker, but guaranteed Sundays will make that happen, just like with our other three. Well, the last two. Donnie, of course, was a happy accident and the catalyst for making us a family. Ethan gathered my hair in a clip, kissed my head, and left the bathroom. I had 3 kids with Ethan, and another on the way. I dropped to the floor, thinking, holy, I'm married to Ethan? I reached for a tissue and a gleam hit my eye. I was wearing a huge diamond ring with a diamond and ruby-encrusted wedding band. I frowned at the beautiful jewelry. Something was really fucking off. I flushed the toilet, removed the towel, and stood over a sink. Staring at my pale, sunken features, I groaned. Not my best morning at all. I splashed cold water on my face and cleaned my mouth, hoping that was the end of my sickness. Back in the mammoth bedroom, I looked around again and frowned at poster-sized portraits mounted on the east wall across from the bed and moved closer. There I was in a beautiful white lacy strapless wedding gown and veil, standing with my back to Ethan's front, who was in a black tux and red bow tie. My left hand rested on his, and we were staring at our rings. The next portrait was a close-up of me kissing Ethan with my left hand resting on his chest. The final one was another close-up of us in the same pose, but smiling at the camera, looking happy and excited. Staring I still. It all felt wrong. I dropped to the bed shaking. God, I muttered. What am I missing? Suddenly doors burst open, and two little girls ran into the room. A boy followed smiling and looked so much like Ethan it was scary. His eyes were a deep brown, and he carried black hair like mine, but everything else was all Ethan. This had to be Donnie. I must have named him after my birth father. Good morning, Mom, he greeted and kissed my cheek as best he could with the two excited girls jumping in front of me. I swallowed and whispered, Good morning, Donnie. He climbed on the bed and grabbed a remote. Seconds later, a huge TV appeared from a cabinet blocking the portraits. Next, a cartoon popped up. It was Encanto. Now my sisters can finish the movie Donnie hailed. SpongeBob tonight. Tomorrow Tom and Jerry. Frozen, the littlest girl demanded, climbed on my lap and caressed my belly, which I now realized was rounded. I had to be 4 months along. Why was I still getting sick? We'll watch that alone with Mommy again, the oldest girl declared. The youngest girl cheered. Mommy, I have waffles for breakfast. I stared at her face, and her large green eyes played into mine. She was doing the eye-begging thing and mastering it. I caressed her wavy black hair and sighed, hating that I didn't know this beauty's name who had Ethan's eyes in my face. All I could say was, well, I heard what I thought was a notification and startled. Here, Mommy, the older girl said, smiling. She had green eyes and black hair too, and all their skin was kissed with color. Taking the cell from this beautiful girl, I felt like such a heel when all I could say was, thank you. Sighing, trying not to cry, I unlocked the cell, not surprised it was my birth father's birthday. It had always been my cell's lock code. The notification was for a text from Monica, in what was a group chat with her and 2 others. They had been chatting for a while. Lisa, regardless of who you're talking about, it's disgusting. Topic change. Amy, fine twink. Are we going to Cavatappi? Or Lila's after service? Lisa, well, you know Nick is a picky eater, so let's wait until Mariah answers to decide. Monica, yes, little Nicole's Sherry is, and it's funny to see her twitch her nose as Mariah does. I've never seen 2 people look so alike. Amy, you meant 3, right? Monica, yep. Can't forget Rachel. I scoffed. Lisa, Donnie looks just like his dad, and Lillian Rachel is a mix of her parents. Nature was more than kind to all of their babies. I'm so happy E&M are finally here. Monica, I second those twink. Amy, third. They have beautiful names. The girl on my lap clapped. I smiled at the other sweetie, who gave me a beautiful grin and returned her attention to the movie. She must be Lillian. Ethan appeared in the doorway, holding a mug of something steaming. Smiling, he walked over to me, lifted the baby, and passed me the mug. She protested, I want to stay with Mommy, Daddy. Ethan pouted at her. Venus, don't be that way. Daddy missed you in his sleep too. I frowned. Venus. You did, the girl beamed. I did, Ethan confirmed. She hugged his neck. Smiling, he gestured for me to drink. I had several sips and nodded. It was ginger tea and it was soothing. Ethan asked, Donald Wallace, did you finish cleaning your room? Donnie nodded. All done, Dad. And Julie supervised me the whole time. Ethan smiled at him and said, Good. Now what do we want for breakfast this morning? Oscar is waiting for us to decide, so he can prepare our food. I held up a finger and said, Nicole wants waffles this morning. That's not a surprise request from my little Venus, Ethan chuckled, tickling her. Sounds good to me, Mommy. We all will too. Anyone want eggs? Nicole scrunched her little face. Donnie asked hopefully, instead of waffles, may I have eggs in the window, please? Me too, Lillian pleaded. With bacon. Ethan nodded. Sure. I'll tell Oscar. Again with the face scrunch, Nicole muttered EW. I'll request bacon and sausage patties. Ethan laughed, tickling our baby girl again. Yay, all 3 kids declared. Ethan smiled and caressed my cheek. Mommy, do you want potatoes fried with onions and green peppers with your eggs and bacon again? And a side of watermelon? Or would you prefer waffles? I felt my nose wrinkle. Potatoes, I decided. Lillian sighed. I hope we have ketchup so Mommy doesn't cry again. I frowned at Ethan. Me too, Nicole pouted. I don't like when Mommy's sad. I believe Oscar or Mia remembered ketchup girls, Ethan soothed. And you should try to remember that Mommy gets sad because of her hormones. Soon she'll be happy all the time like she used to be. I blew out a breath and nodded. Smiling, I said, your father's right. Now off to bathe, kids, Ethan ordered. Venus, honey. Julie is waiting to help you too. Donnie, you got this, yes? I sure do, the boy shouted, running from the room. Shower and dress, and wait for Julie to come for you, son, Ethan called after him. Donnie shouted, "Got a dad?" He should have 10 years old, Ethan said, walking the girls to the door where a tall, smiling older woman was waiting. After greeting me, she took the girls' little hands and left with them. I stared at the cell, ready to unlock it again, and sipped more tea. Better? Ethan asked, rubbing my neck. I nodded nervously. This was my husband. Why was that irking me? It wasn't because he was my husband, it was because it was Ethan. Why the hell was that so shocking? He gestured to the cell. Sister's up and at it already. I answered. They're wondering where we're going after church. Ethan's brow raised. Going? I nodded, saying, they want to go to a restaurant but are waiting for us to decide on which one. Ethan nodded. I see. Well, I've always liked cavatappi, but the food there may be a bit much for our little heart stealer, so let's do Lila's. They have a great children's menu that Tom's kids love, I hear. My mind sighed. That's why he calls her Venus. I said, I'll tell them. I quickly sent the text while Ethan ordered our breakfast and ignored all responses, figuring they'd all be a bit lewd for the most part, and decided to get myself ready for the day. Standing, I gazed around the room and frowned. Where the hell did I keep my clothes? The closet I entered earlier was filled with belongings for a man, and though it was a brief viewing, and I had other things going on, not to mention coming out, I knew my things would not be in there. Really, Mariah? Ethan chuckled behind me. I'm blaming pregnancy brain for your lapse because you should know this layout by now. He placed his hands on my shoulders and turned me in the direction of another set of double doors on the west wall. Now if you get lost, just call out, and I'll be there to help in seconds, because I'm showering first. He slapped my ass, making me yelp. Infuriated, not knowing why, I pushed down my anguish and walked to the doors holding my phone and tea. I entered the room and gasped. It was twice as big as Ethan's and teeming with everything a woman could possibly want or need to look good. Open shelves filled with hair products and appliances, cosmetics, perfumes, oils, and lotions were next to a framed tall and wide mirror. Shoes, boots, and purses covered the wall behind glass doors. 3 walls of clothes lined the others, and in the middle of the massive room was an island with drawers and a lighted vanity with a matching bench. It had a red velvet fabric covering its seat. It all seemed way too much. A shower started. I placed the phone and mug on the island's marble top and opened a large drawer in the center. It contained jeans and sweats, while several other drawers on that side housed more casual wear. In a side drawer, I discovered it was lined in red velvet and held jewelry. Diamonds sparkled everywhere, in necklaces, bracelets, watches, earrings, and rings. I opened another drawer which held rubies set in brooches along with more earrings, bracelets, rings, and necklaces. I opened every drawer. All were filled with some kind of bauble that was far out of my league. They were stunning, glimmering pieces that needed to be adorned by a well-dressed lady. Looking up, my gaze went to a lengthy wall holding dresses, separated by wooden dividers, which were almost stuffed tighter than sardines. Moving closer, I noticed they were hung by season, and the heavier ones were wrapped in clear garment bags. Peering out of another massive window, I could see the sun shining. Checking the phone, the date read it was the 10th of July. I pulled out a dress in lavender and nodded, feeling its familiarity. If I'm to play this out, I would as best I could, and that dress would make me look good while I tried figuring everything out. Smiling, I hung the tailored sheath with a hidden center back, zipper, a scoop neckline, and origami folded sleeves on a hook by the large mirror, and gazed at it for several minutes. Moving over to the shoes, I found a cubicle holding a pair of suede purple pumps and a matching wide belt. I grabbed the items and placed them with the dress. Now I needed a purse. In the back of the cubicle there was a beige linen bag. I pulled it out, opened it, and gasped. It was a suede clutch purse that perfectly matched the shoes and belt. I went to the bathroom located just off this closet, thinking this Mariah was perfectly dressed and organized. After a long shower, I put on a robe and went back into the closet. Waiting there was a short, smiling woman who I guessed was around 50. She had skin that was the color of rich caramel. Her smile was contagious, and she spoke to me in rapid Spanish. In a joking manner, she said not to be alarmed. It was just her Gloria. She'd already pressed my dress and was just waiting for further instructions as she pointed toward the underwear choices. I picked the plain tan bra and undies set and decided to forego pantyhose. I slid on my panties and removed my robe, and Gloria put away the extras with no rush while still speaking in Spanish. She expressed how happy she was to be back in California with her family and friends. I answered her with enthusiasm and felt her fingers on my back. She fastened the bra, believing we'd done this several times before. I thought nothing more of it as I stepped into the dress and carefully pulled it up my body. Gloria was there instantly to zip me into it. She fastened the belt around my back and moved to the purse as I slipped on the shoes. Mascara was passed to me, and I reluctantly used it. When I capped it, a gloss was given to me, and I smeared some on my lips. Both tubes were taken from me, and for some reason I closed my eyes and tilted my head up damn near involuntarily and felt a spritz of sweet-smelling vanilla hit my neck. I felt it again behind both knees and smiled. I liked the scent, and it was obvious that Gloria knew I hated perfume on my fingers and spritzed it for me. Small platinum hoop earrings were pressed into my hand. I swiftly put them in my ears. Next, a platinum bracelet with several diamonds was given to me along with a matching necklace. I put it all on and checked my appearance. I did look rather good. Sweetness, which tie do you think Ethan asked at the island? Buenos dias, Gloria. She spoke in Spanish, tittering. Laughing, I informed my husband she wishes you a good morning too and wants to know when you're going to try to learn Spanish again. Ethan appeared deep in thought. I should be free in Neverary around the 36th. Laughing, I translated. Shaking her head, Gloria also laughed and moved to finish her clearing. Ethan held up the ties, staring at me. I noted the blue suit he wore. I think the gray and blue stripes look good with the suit. Smiling, he nodded and pulled it around his neck. He tossed the other on a chair, and Gloria tooted. She was off to his closet next, which I was sure was a complete mess. Typical Ethan. As he knotted the tie, he continued to stare at me, his gaze going up and down. Turn, Sweetness, he commanded once Gloria left us. Something about this felt amiss, but as time progressed it felt less wrong. Something transpired, and this is now my reality, and I had no clue how or why this was happening or what the alternate world's truth was if there was one. Ethan was my husband, and our oldest child was 10 in this scenario. I sighed, did as he asked, and giggled at his sensuous groan. That ass should be illegal. Ethan murmured, I begging, I so wish I could get a kiss. Pulling tissue from the box in front of me, I watched myself in the mirror wipe off the gloss. Smiling at Ethan, I whispered, come and get it. He was in front of me in 1.2 seconds. His arm circled me, and he quickly claimed my lips. He moaned after his tongue caressed mine. I pulled away. Damn, I sidestepping back. He wasn't a bad kisser, but something was really fucking wrong here, and I had to fight the nausea. What was the problem? What the hell was I missing? Noting the disappointed look on Ethan's face, I removed the belt, and instantly my breathing and comfort improved, because that's the way I played it out. Phew. That is so much better. I don't know why I put it on. Okay, where were we? Right about here, he whispered, lowering his head. Again, kissing him felt wrong. I tried with my all to keep it going, and not pull away, and run as fast as I could to. Anywhere. Okay, a man amusingly called. Time for Sunday to become Sunday lovers. We separated, laughing, I in gratefulness. I glanced at the clock and figured we had to have been going at it for quite a few minutes. I did not enjoy 1 second of it. Worst timing ever, Tom, Ethan sighed, passing me my clutch. I quickly checked it and was relieved that Gloria had everything I needed in there, including my cell. I glossed my lips again as the brothers teased one another. And just how do you know about Sunday mornings, ass? Brother Tom chuckled and winked at me. How do you think? And thanks. Guess what my wife and I will be up to next Sunday before church. Sighing, I walked past both of them. You're becoming a widower today, Dr. Harvey. Laughing, the men followed me into our bedroom. I smiled at my daughters, both dressed in adorable, mostly yellow flower pattern dresses with shiny white sandals, and their cute little feet were painted in a subtle pink. Nicole had 2 adorable ponytails with yellow bows at the base. Lillian had 1 puff on the top of her head with a giant yellow bow in front. Julie did a good job with them, and I told her so after I hugged my girls. Donnie entered the room and cleared his throat. We gave him our attention, and he posed like Vogue, had cameras all over the room, which I noted already had a made bed, and looked as though no one had slept in it the night before. We had a great beyond efficient staff I never saw unless summoned. Nice, Tom declared, ruffling his hair. Donnie ducked and moved to the left. You're messing up my strands, Uncle T. My brother frowned. What on earth do you have in your hair, nephew? My brother frowned. What on earth do you have in your hair, nephew? Deodorant, my son declared. I don't want my head hair to stink like the new ones under my arms, so I put some there like Dad showed me to do with my pits. Tom smelled his hand. It won't, but I don't think you want to walk around smelling like roses and… Tom sniffed again. What is that? I moved to my son and sniffed his head. Turning Donnie to the door, I said, ask a gynecologist. Go wash your hair, Donnie, and hurry before you miss breakfast. Julie, Ethan called, chuckling. Please help Donnie, and send him to the dining room when you finish, please. She quickly agreed, poorly hiding a chuckle. Not a word I mumbled. A laughing Ethan lifted Nicole to his shoulders, and a cackling Tom squatted for Lillian to climb on his back. Their amusement did not end when we sat for breakfast, considering Tom shared with Monica about Donnie's foray into my feminine deodorant cabinet once we entered the dining room. After church we rode to Lila's as part of a caravan. Mom and Pop were in front, Lisa and Nathan were behind them, Tom and Monica were next, followed by us. Amy and Tim were pulling up the rear. Our kids were with Tom and Monica being entertained by their boys, so it was just Ethan and me in our car. Ethan informed. Tom said the Cannons are joining us for lunch. I met them after the merger was finalized, and now you will have a chance to meet Pop's business partners. I sighed, rubbing my belly. I'm looking forward to meeting them. Every time something important popped up involving them, I was pregnant and couldn't travel. Ethan chuckled. Stop giving me sex, and the problem is solved. The smile dropped. Wait. I laughed. Nope, you said it. No more sex with us. That feeling of relief. My husband snapped. Damn it, Mariah, that's not funny. It's so, as I giggled. You wouldn't last a day. Ethan sighed, shaking his head, and said, if this were real and after I didn't get any this morning, you're damn right I wouldn't, sweetness. I've come to rely on Sunday mornings after the work week I've had, especially if we haven't had relations during the week. Saturdays are for the kids, and they keep us on our toes, the little cockblockers. You in that bathing suit yesterday. Christ, I'm getting erect. Let's skip this and meet with the Cannons later. Though we could do this now, and after we lock ourselves away in our bedroom where we won't have to rush. Ethan sighed in frustration. Can't do that, because I have to go into the office to meet a Ms. Juarez after lunch. We have to prep a new case, and we'll need to get started today. Choosing a jury begins next Monday, so there's only a week to pull everything together. I've never met her, and I have no idea how fluid she is with her arguments, despite hearing she's a mini barracuda. Perhaps you can nap while I'm meeting with her, and I'll wake you when I get home after I send Julie and the kids to the TV room. Maybe you'll already be up and raring to go. I sighed and nodded. Nap it is. I laughed at Ethan's groan as he parked next to his mom and stepfather, thinking I'd figure out a way to get out of that task later. Mariah, my mother-in-law, Lillian, called. How are you feeling, sweetheart? I hugged her and kissed her husband's cheek. Walking toward the entrance, Lillian held me to her side. Better, thank you. I had a little nausea this morning, but I'm starting to feel like myself. Good to hear. Have you changed your mind about learning the sex of the baby? She asked, hopefully patting my belly. Ethan chuckled. I answered, no, mother, we haven't. We want the surprise. Ooh, she said, play tapping my nose. Torturers, the both of you. Ethan laughed with me behind us. That's 98% of the fun, mother. Still amused, we entered and were shown down a wide hall. The dining area was the size of my closet and housed a huge table that was prepped to serve, and a smaller one next to it, obviously set up for children. At the bar stood 7 people I hadn't met, chatting with Lisa and Nathan. After greeting my parents, Lillian held my waist again and said, come with me, sweetheart. Dr. Stephen Cannon, please meet Mariah, my daughter-in-law, and I believe you've met her husband, Ethan. He's our second and an attorney. Smiling, I shook the doctor's hand, and we exchanged pleasantries, followed by Ethan. And this is Stephen's lovely wife, Catherine. She kissed my cheek and beamed my way. Lovely to meet you finally, Mariah. I've heard nothing but good words. Grinning, I assured, as have I of you, Mrs. Cannon. I'm Catherine, darling, she cooed, and warned behave Matthew. She turned to her husband and asked him to move to the corner with her. Lillian turned me. And here we have Matthew Cannon. He's Stephen and Catherine's middle son and Mariah's second husband, Matthew, declared, pulling me into his arms. My eyes widened at his bold statement and actions. Sweetness, if I pass away, first marry again, Ethan stated. To anyone but this loon. Stay as far away from this guy. Matter of fact, if you become a widow, move to Iceland. Holding me grinning hard, Matthew guffawed like I couldn't get a flight there. My mommy owns a jet, you know. I giggled and had to give him a hug. My baby kicked and Matthew felt it. Laughing, he declared what he felt along with, even the baby wants me to be his dad. Matthew suddenly jumped and a stunning woman scowled at him. Or he's kicking you away from his mother. Behave, the beauty told him. Or I'll call your mother back over here. After a chuckle and a kiss on her cheek, Matthew introduced me to his sister Evelyn and her husband Russell, who told me to ignore Matthew for the most part. It's just his way, Evelyn sighed. He means no harm. I get it, and will humor him at arm's length. Exactly what he needs, Russell assured. We're happy to finally meet you, Mariah. Hi, I'm Mandy, another beautiful woman gushed. You are the most gorgeous woman I've ever seen, Mariah, and I don't think it has to do with the glow the pregnancy's giving you. Flattered, I hugged her too. Thank you, Mandy, but I can say the same of you. Yeah, well, with me it is all the glow. I'm due in October. December, I smiled. Sweet. Meet my husband, Joshua Cannon. Joshua, this is Mariah Harvey, Ethan's wife. Finally, Joshua smiled, passing Mandy a tall glass filled with a golden liquid. I confirmed, holding out my hand, even though the sound of that name irked the hell out of me. Good to meet you, Joshua. And you, Mariah. Allow me to apologize for our other brother's absence. He was with us until service ended and was paged. He's a doctor and is on call today. I doubt he'll have time to join us, but we can always hope. Marcus, yes. I'm sorry I missed him. I believe Ethan said he's a pediatrician. Evelyn answered. Yes, he is, and all of our children see him. He's very good, and I'm not just saying that because he's my brother. Believe me, I'd fire him fast if he were a quack. Giggling, I turned to Ethan. We haven't chosen one for the kids. Maybe we should schedule appointments with him. That's a good idea, Lillian assured. You won't be sorry, believe me. Marcus is a partner at the clinic and heads the pediatric floor. He's well-liked and trusted by his staff, patients, and their parents. I trust no one as much as I do him with my grandchildren's health. Tom, Monica, Lisa, Nathan dear, don't you agree? All verbally confirmed warmly. Ethan nodded. Let's do it, sweetness. I believe you said Donnie needed a doctor's permission to join the baseball team at school, so he can go first as it's due fairly soon. I nodded. I'll get an appointment for Hunter and we'll go together. My oldest is due for his sports physical too. Great plan. Thanks, I sighed at Lisa's offer, swallowing hard. I looked around feeling stressed and tried to ward it off. The last thing I needed was a migraine, especially after meeting some wonderful people. I wanted to get to know them better. But what was stressing me? What was I not seeing? I peeked at my husband, who was happily chatting with Joshua, Matthew, and my best friend from college, Nathan. My kids were running around with their cousins, along with several other children, and all were laughing. Mandy and Evelyn were conversing over our lunch choices, and Monica joined us, offering her opinion on what was good. She wrapped an arm around me. Feeling queasy, she gently asked, roaming my face. How's your head? Lisa asked. How about a ginger ale? I nodded, holding my belly, hating that I was garnering attention, and said I'll ask for one. Don't worry about me, ladies. Go on and mingle. I'll be okay. Don't worry, Monica scoffed and called Ethan, come escort your wife to the table. She's feeling a little off. I'll get a ginger ale for her, I assured, taking my worried husband's arm. There's no need to fuss, I promise. I just need a moment. We sat and soon the others joined us. To my left was Russell. He talked with Matthew, who was across from him, about his business. As soon as they had a gap in their exchange, I smiled at Matthew, hoping he could help with something that had plagued me for years. Thinking it was a sign that a detective had entered my life, I asked, "You're a private investigator, Matthew," and nervously sipped more ginger ale. Indeed. I also operate a security service. I nodded and asked, how does one hire you? Don't worry about your security, Mariah. We already have a detail on you at your husband's request. You and your little angels will be protected around the clock. Rest assured there will never be a time when you and they are not secure. I responded. I'm glad he thought of it. I smiled at Ethan and turned back to Matthew. But I didn't mean for security. I want to find someone. If you find her. When? I frowned. I'm sorry. When I find her, not if. Oh, okay, I said, liking his confidence. When you find her, I'd like her to know that it's me seeking her, but if she still wants me to leave her alone, I'll respect her wish. I miss her and just need to know that she's, well, I pray for that daily. So you shall, he promised, pulling out a mini notepad from his breast pocket. Name. Age. How did you meet or know her? Madison Yvonne King. She's 35. We graduated from Evanston Township High School together, and she went on to NYU. After that, I don't know. Got it. He stood. Give me a minute. When he left Evelyn and Mandy assured me that Matthew would be diligent and quick with his search. Sighing in relief, I smiled. Next, we decided the women would meet for lunch, soon to be entirely girly, and get to know one another better. We synced schedules and planned our first foray with lunch, hair, and nails. Then a man stood between Ethan and me. Sir Mr. Cannon requested that you and your wife join him in the private office. Frowning, Ethan stood and held out his hand to me. I took it, and we followed the man to a door in the back of the restaurant. Matthew stood next to a desk and gestured for us to sit in the chairs in front of it. I did. Ethan lowered next to me, and Matthew placed a tablet in front of me. I looked at it and immediately burst into tears. Ethan held me. "Don't cry, Carrie," a woman's voice said softly, urgently. "Please stop. I sob, I can't. I've missed you, Avenue." Madison started to cry too. I heard a man soothe her and instantly recognized his voice. It was Tony, her oldest brother. After an eternity, I calmed down, patted my face dry with tissues from Matthew, and stared at her beautiful face and asked, "Where are you, Avenue?" Smiling, she replied, "I moved back to Chicago after I was hired as a local anchor in 2012. I said, I moved to the East Coast in 2011, and now my husband and I are in California. We're just settling in, so it's all so new to me. Mom and I were only here for a few months before I got pregnant, then Ethan accepted a position with his firm in New York, and I went with him." Madison revealed, "I was there as a field producer with a local station before moving back here." Smiling, she hopefully asked, "Do you ever come back to Chicago?" "No," I sighed. "Nothing's there for me. Mom is still here." I see Madison sighed. I quickly said, "Until now I meant. I had no clue you were there." Madison grinned. "That blue-eyed meal said you wanted to know if I was okay, and you'd let me decide what I wanted with you and me. I've missed you too, and I want back into your life in any way you'd allow. I'm there." Smiling, I insisted, "I will always love you. And I want my best friend back." "Then you've got her," Madison whispered. "I love you, Carrie, always, and I'm sorry we allowed ourselves to drift apart." I whispered, "You have no idea how much sorrow I feel about that too, Madison." I dabbed my eyes. "I wish I could fly out to see you, but I'm pregnant. My doctor won't allow me to fly, and I cannot do another road trip. You remember my migraines, don't you?" Madison nodded. "I do remember, and no, you shouldn't fly. Hang on." She picked up a cell and tapped a few times. "I'm owed vacation time, and there's no better time than now to take it. My boys are out for the summer, and I have to start negotiations on a new contract by mid-August. If you want, we'll fly out to see you." I cried. "Please, Poopsie. I'd love to see you in them." Madison sobbed. "Done." I nodded. "For now, meet my husband, Ethan Harvey." He smiled into the camera. "Pleasure to put a current face to the name Madison." "Great to meet you, Ethan." "Talked of me, has she?" "Talks," Ethan corrected. "And I insist you and your boys stay with us while you're here." Madison giggled. "If we do, I doubt you'd see much of your wife. Ask your mother-in-law, Ethan. Mariah and I have had some notorious sleepovers." Ethan assured, "I'm not worried. You'll be safe under my roof, and so will the kids." "Have at it." I kissed him and smiled at Madison. "So it's settled. You'll stay with us. How many boys do you have?" "I have 2, and they are 9 and 5. I squealed they can bunk with my 10-year-old and tear up the room. We laughed and I sighed. "I can't wait to squeeze you, Madison. I can't wait to crush you, Mariah. I gotta go. I'm going on the air in 30 and have to fix the mess I've made with my face first. I'll make our flight arrangements after and send the details. Give me your number." I called it out and Ethan only had to correct me twice, laughing. "It's a new number, so leave me alone," I giggled. Madison laughed. "Poopsie, can I get a favor?" Of course, I smiled. I was truly happy to see her face again. "Have the 8-course for dinner a couple of times while I'm there, okay? Not in the first couple of nights, though, because I'm talking your ear off for 48 hours straight." I winked at Madison. "You got it." I tapped end and stood. "Matthew, my best friend, wants to meet you in person. Soon you'll be invited to dinner at our home often." Smiling, he nodded. "Tell me when, and I'm there every time I'm invited." I asked, "How did you find her so fast?" "Everyone is several persons away, and in this case Madison was too. She's a client in Chicago. My office manager there gave me some numbers, and I contacted Tony, and he happened to be with her at the station. He remembered you and immediately told her why I contacted him." I hugged him. "I'm so glad I spoke up. Let's go eat. Suddenly I'm starving." "And Ethan?" He smiled. "Yes, sweetness. Sorry, but I'm not taking your advice." Matthew will be my second husband. Matthew laughed with Ethan and wrapped my hand on his arm. I accept. I say divorce him now. Mariah Cannon sounds better anyway. It absolutely did, I felt, and I almost verbally agreed with him. Madison and I spent every waking hour together and some overnights mostly talking and giggling. At the end of the first night, just as the sun peeked through the sky, we resolved what separated us and had a good long cry while holding one another. Several times I sat at the kitchen island and amusedly watched her give my chef a paid night off and cook our meal herself. She limited my help to chopping and stirring, and aside from that she did it all, including dessert. It was all delicious, but cleaning up afterward was a chore, though my staff helped tremendously. Truthfully, no matter what she and I did, I was exhausted every time my head hit a pillow, and my husband understood. He chuckled whenever I entered our room, and a few times he was surprised to see me. Each time I was grateful to have a nanny. On her last night with us, I hosted a dinner party for Madison. She and Matthew decided to give a relationship a go, and she was transferring to the local station in California. I was so happy when I was told. I sobbed in her arms. Having Madison so close, well, it was the best thing that could have happened in my life. Dressed in a purple dress that elegantly concealed my swollen breasts and draped comfortably over my belly, I admired how good I looked and felt. I paired it with sensible purple shoes that had clear acrylic heels, with minimal makeup, and a blowout hairstyle that showcased beautiful curls. My overall appearance made me feel somewhat regal. As I kissed the kids goodnight, Madison walked into the TV room where her boys and my children were sleeping, with Julie supervising them. Madison rocked in a strapless, soft orange mini dress that hugged her breasts and hips and killer nude stilettos. Her face made up in soft glam, she looked fresh off a runway. Mommy, her oldest, called out. She beamed at him and caressed his hair. Yes, Henry. You look beautiful. Are you going to a ball? Are you Cinderly? Thank you, honey, but no, she giggled. It's just a dinner party with adults, so be good. Don't give Julie any woes, okay? Okay, Mommy, he answered. And tomorrow we're going on the plane again. That we are, but we'll be back very soon to stay. After the children's cheers and kisses, Madison and I walked down the stairs arm in arm, chatting about her move. I told her how much I hoped it wouldn't take long for her to pack. It won't, she promised. I'm hiring a shit ton of help, and Matthew's flying out in 3 days to help get everything settled. Mandy's sister has already found houses for us to tour, so that should be taken care of when I return, and an overly excited Catherine has graciously offered to host us while Matthew and I get our shit together. And your return will be, since I was smart to put in my notice before I flew out here, 10 days if all goes well, and I'll start at the new station at the first of the year. I need the break. Thanks, by the way, for not thinking I'm a stalker for resigning to be near you again. I widened my eyes and said, well, I wasn't going to say. Mariah, she gasped. I nudged her. Kidding. Honestly, I cannot wait to see your face every day, Poopsie. Oh, good, she cooed. On my return, I'll need to find a school for my boys, secure a home, and manage everything that comes with it. I'll have a lot on my plate, and I hope you can help during that time, but not to the point of exhaustion. Please let me know when you're feeling tired for both your sake and the baby's. I will, I promise. I'm happy for you and us, Madison. She smiled. So am I, but I'm ecstatic for me mostly. I found a great man who I already love, and I have you back in my life, who I have always loved, and soon we'll live close to one another. How could I not be anything but euphoric? Me too, I happily giggled and hugged my long-missed friend. I haven't felt this way in so long, and I should for decades. You will if I have anything to do with it. I didn't release Madison until a hand landed on my back. A smiling Matthew grinned wickedly at us. Goodness. Mind if I join this love fest? Ethan won't mind, I'm sure, if some nakedness goes on before dinner. I think the fuck not, Madison snorted at Matthew, moving out of his arm. My goodness is all you'll get, meal. He kissed my cheek, then Madison's lips, sinfully, and growled, and once again I'll get full eating you buffet. I laughed so hard I choked. Holding my belly, I ran over to the bar for water and guzzled. It had been that way with those two since the first night Matthew had joined us for dinner. He had a meal with us every night since he met Madison in person, and most mornings he was at our breakfast table, including after several nights Madison and I spent talking until dawn. Where's Ethan, Mariah? Matthew queried. I don't think he's joined us twice for dinner this week. I'm starting to think the guy doesn't live here. I sighed. Soon hopefully he'll be here, Matthew. New case. Every time he pulls one, his office hours become wonky. After greeting Joshua and Mandy, Joshua warmly held my hand in both of his and said, "Thanks for including our oldest brother tonight, Mariah." He and I had plans, but since Madison is leaving in the morning, we altered them. "It's more than fine, Joshua," I assured, squeezing his hand. I informed our house manager of another guest, and she's confident that Oscar is well prepared for additions. Joshua smiled with an understanding nod. Marcus Matthew chuckled. "We're not in the midst of an earthquake, so leave the doorway and meet Mariah Harvey, our hostess." "Mariah, that is our brother Marcus. I don't believe we're related most days, but our parents still insist it's true." I giggled and turned to the entrance. I could only stare at the man moving into the room wearing a gray suit, a gray-white tie with thin red stripes, and a snowy white shirt. He was a god. Zeus had some explaining to do. I forced my eyes to look at the floor and inhaled long and slow. Swallowing, I again stared at this gorgeous man, watching him slowly move into the room, and became lost in the so-blue eyes that captured my white and brown ones. "We've been missing each other, it seems," he noted, offering his hand, and a smile that could light up a million stars, and a gentle squeeze of my hand. "I'm happy to meet you finally, Mariah." I smiled, feeling all kinds of electricity from that simple touch. "As am I, Marcus." I released his hand and smiled when Catherine and Stephen entered, followed by my mother and Ethan's father, who had been married for 11 years. Ethan's mother, Lillian, and her husband Casper entered with Amy, Tim, Lisa, and Nathan behind them. As we chatted waiting for Ethan to show, so we could go in for dinner, Tom and Monica arrived, and both were flushed, as was I, but in my case I was hoping the pregnancy would be what everyone would blame if it were noticed. Evelyn and Russell arrived next, and all who were expected were in attendance. As they imbibed, we broke into separate groups, mingling about as we waited for Ethan. Marcus kept his distance, to which I was grateful, because something about that guy unnerved me, heated me. Our housekeeper entered and quietly informed me of Ethan's arrival, but he wouldn't join us until he showered and dressed for the evening. Nodding, I asked her to direct him to the dining room. I didn't want to hold up the meal any longer. I announced dinner was served, and noted everyone had coupled except Marcus and I. Nervously, I was about to take his offered arm, but Madison reached him first and looped her arm. "Marcus, please sit next to me. I'd like to hear more about your practice. Matthew and Catherine tell me you are the best in the state when it comes to pediatric care, and—" I didn't hear any more. I took Matthew's arm, and he escorted me to my chair. I kept my eyes on my left, where Lisa sat, and chatted with her. Madison and Marcus were to my right first, discussing immunizations, then their topic moved on to the local attractions. Several times I wanted to offer my opinions, but with Marcus I seemed to forget my own thoughts. I did manage a giggle after our salad plates were removed. Catherine stood and smacked Matthew's head after he made a loud comment about how much he enjoyed the meals served in my home, but his favorite was made by Madison's mother. It took me and several others a moment to understand what he was saying, but we all got it right away when he smiled lasciviously at Madison, who blushed fire. I could tell she wanted to respond, but she kept still out of respect for the older generation. Had it only been her peers at that table. After the head smack, everyone laughed, including Matthew. Looking fresh and relaxed, Ethan entered the dining room as we settled. My husband kissed me and then greeted everyone, showing affection to his parents. Once Ethan was seated, we were served a wonderfully aromatic soup. I was so grateful my husband kept the conversations going with various topics. I concentrated on him mostly, and thankfully made it through the rest of the evening without a mishap. In the morning, the kids had breakfast with the men, and Madison and I sat in the den holding hands and talking about everything and nothing to pass the time before she had to go to the airport. Smiling, she squeezed my hand. "You haven't thanked me for saving you last night, Poopsie." I blinked. "Saving me?" She sipped her tea. "That Marcus. He does something to you." I stared at our hands and sighed. "He's hot, and Carrie's in." I don't know, Madison breathed. "There is something about that guy that just—" If I weren't so into Matthew, if I had a choice, I believe I'd have chosen. I glared at her, daring her to finish that sentence. She giggled. "Yep, he burns your butter. I knew this, because you looked at him like you used to stare at Brent before he turned out to be a complete asshole." Advice: stay away from Marcus. "Why?" That was a whine. Madison raised a brow. "Because he feels the same. I saw it, but if I hadn't, Matthew told me. The day we reconnected, there was no emergency at the hospital. He was into you, Mariah, instantly." I swallowed. "Was he?" "He is. Keep your distance from him, please." Don't disrespect your vows. Ethan is a good guy. You love him and you're married to him. Don't throw that away for to satisfy your physical attraction to another. Control yourself, and I'm going to tell Matthew to say the same to Marcus. She was right. I smiled at her. Thank you for re-entering my life, moving here, being the voice of reason. Saving me. Need more? No, she cooed, squeezing me. That's just enough. And I'll do all of that always. Madison, I whispered. Yes, Pupsy. Would you really have chosen to be with Marcus? Well, she sighed, standing. I definitely would have inquired if they were at all interested in sharing. I'd love to be the meat in a cannon sandwich. Open face would work too. You know, open like gold leaf one day, royal bloomer the next. Which is which? I frowned, believing she could convince them to share her, and that made me so green. I'll never tell. She winked and giggled. And I'm lying. Matthew's it for me. I giggled. I'm sure she thought I was amused, but no, it was in relief. As I sat in an examination room waiting with my son for his first appointment with the new doctor, I caressed my belly. The baby kicked wildly in my body, and soon my stomach growled. Dressed in an exam gown, Donnie tittered. Laughing, I pulled out a box of raisins and devoured them with a bottle of water. A knock sounded when I finished. Good morning, Mrs. Harvey. I'm Miss Johnson, a medical assistant on this floor, she informed, pointing to her ID. I'm assisting the pediatrician today. He'll see your son next for a full evaluation. May I take him 2 doors down to record his vitals? Of course, I agreed. Donnie, behave with Miss Johnson. Don't I always, Mom? I smirked at him. My amused son chuckled as they left the room. I thumbed through my phone waiting, and soon heard, hello, young man. Who might you be? It was Marcus' voice, and even that affected me. He was met with silence. I sighed. My children were taught to wait until someone introduced them to new people before speaking. I was sure Donnie was waiting for his escort to tell him who was this unknown man. Is this young man our new deaf patient, Miss Johnson? No, doctor. Donald can hear very well. Donald, this is your new pediatrician. Please introduce yourself to him. Yes, ma'am. My name is Donald Wallace Harvey, sir, and I like to be called Donnie. Hello, Donnie. I'm Dr. Marcus Alexander Cannon. Good morning, Dr. Cannon. My mom's here. Did you want to meet her too, sir? I have Donnie. Go back to the exam room with her, and I'll speak with you both in a moment. Miss Johnson, how are Donnie's vitals? Donnie entered the room and jumped on the table. The others chatted softly. Nervousness building, I pulled gum from my purse. I opened the tub, and somehow several pieces splattered on the floor. Shaking my head, I squatted to pick them up and shot them one by one into the trash. Brick, my son, laughed when I missed. Yeah, think you can do better? I gave him a piece when he nodded. It went straight in the bin. I cheered and tried again. That was a 3-pointer, Mom, Donnie hailed. Yay, I laughed. I walked to the bin and picked up the one I missed. Tossing it, I missed again. Donnie laughed. Come on, Mom. It's fighting me, honey. I picked up the piece again, and as I moved toward the door, my heel skidded on something. I landed on my rear, just as the door widened and 2 pairs of legs entered the room. Mrs. Harvey, are you all right? Hands gripped my arms and I raised. Yes, thank you, I breathed. It was just me being foolish. I looked to where I slipped. It was all my fault. My shoe slid on a piece of gum I dropped. Miss Johnson squatted and picked it up. I watched as she tossed it in the trash. 3-pointer, I mumbled, rubbing my sore backside. A hand firmly held my elbow, and I lowered to a chair, sighing. Looking up, I gasped into the piercing blue eyes of Marcus Cannon. Watching them, I noted they seemed familiar, and shook my head. Of course they did. He'd been to my home for dinner and cocktails not long ago, and I enjoyed his company and conversation, even though I didn't participate. Are you sure you're okay, Mrs. Harvey? The blue-eyed man asked, slowly studying my face. Yes, I am, Still just call me Marcus. Marcus, my head repeated, staring. This handsome man was my son's new doctor, and I'd have to see him often, especially after the baby arrived. I am Mariah. Nodding, he stepped back and cleared his throat. Miss Johnson, please summon Dr. Brand. I'd like him to examine Mrs. Harvey, just for my peace of mind. Honestly, it's only my pride and backside that's affected, I breathed, slowly raking this man. Again, he looked good all over, even in his doctor's coat and runners. And I swear his hair was blacker than mine, and those blue scrubs did something to make his eyes even more pronounced. Stunning. Humor me, please, Mariah. I nodded, hating to deny him. Believing I'd do whatever he asked, my heart thudded. Miss Johnson left the room. Marcus Cannon moved to the sink and washed his hands. Donnie asked while staring at me with frightened eyes. Is my mom okay, Dr. Cannon? I believe so, Donnie, but I want to be very sure, and I will be when a doctor examines her. I thought you were a doctor, sir. I'm a pediatrician, which means I specialize in treating children. Since your mom is pregnant, she has to see an obstetrician. Those doctors care for women and their babies. Oh. Miss Johnson returned with a nurse who escorted me to another room where a smiling African-American doctor waited for me. While with him, Marcus performed a full examination on Donnie and smiled my way when I returned from my impromptu exam. My son and his doctor watched me anxiously as I stood next to Donnie. The baby is fine and so am I. There's just a little soreness at my hip. Dr. Brand was excellent with me and advised warm compresses and Tylenol. I wish I had found him sooner. Is there something troubling you about your OB, Mariah? She's a little cold but professional. Perhaps you should switch. I nodded. Perhaps I should. I kissed Donnie's hair. So how's my heart? So far he appears healthy, but I'd like to order tests. I noted an iron deficiency in his record from New York and would like a level in case he needs an adjustment in his regimen. I understand Marcus and he's fasting. I figured you'd want levels on him. I'm often tested as it's a familial trait through my father. Needles again, Donnie groused. Donnie, I promise, Marcus smiled. Lila will take excellent care of you, and you'll barely feel the needle. She's my daughter, and was trained by my sister Evelyn, who you've met, Mariah. I smiled my confirmation, though my heart skipped a beat at the name Lila. I love her name, I offered. Marcus beamed. She was named after her great-grandmother on my father's side. How sweet of you and your wife to name her so. Ex-girlfriend. I've never been married. My heart thumped with a brief rap on the exam room door, and a woman in red scrubs entered with blue eyes and black hair. She was much like her father. I instantly fell in love with her. Lila Catherine Cannon, meet Mariah Harvey, and her son Donald Wallace, Donnie. They're members of the same Harvey family we joined with a few years back and are new to California. I shook her hand and smiled with our pleasantries. Lila got started with Donnie and had him laughing while she drew his blood. Marcus was right. Donnie barely felt the needle pierce his skin. Marcus declared the exam was over. He ruffled Donnie's hair and held out his hand to me. Smiling, I gave him mine and sighed, wanting to rub my neck. I hadn't felt like doing that in years, but this wonderful man made me feel a certain kind of way, and wish I weren't married. I had to call my best friend and get her to talk me down. How was I going to get through more exams with this man? What was I going to do during Nicole and Lillian's exams in a week? Ethan burst into our room after I'd lain down for the evening. Wearing a worried expression, he rushed to my side, frantically pulled back the cover, and caressed my belly. I just spoke with Twink. She called to check on you, but your phone's off. She told me you fell at the appointment for Donnie. Are you okay? I'm fine, I soothed. I slipped on a piece of gum in the exam room. I'm suing. I'm going to have Alyssa get started on that first thing in the morning, I assure you. I cannot believe my father would allow such a degree of neglect to happen in his clinic, especially with pregnant mothers and small children nearby, and… Ethan. He frowned at my snap. What? I dropped the gum container and didn't retrieve all the pieces. This was due to my actions, and Marcus made sure I saw a doctor before he started to examine Donnie. Dr. Brand assured me everything was good, and all I felt was a small amount of pain in my hip and a blow to my pride, because Marcus and his assistant walked in just after I dropped on my ass. He studied my face and caressed my belly. Are you sure? Everything's good, truly? It is, I promise, and the unplanned exam went so well that I've decided to switch to Dr. Brand for my care. Thank God. He sighed in relief. If anything were to happen to you, or this little guy, I don't know what I'd do, Mariah. Well, you don't have to worry. We're both fine. And I'm coming with you to see this Dr. Brand. Let me know when it is sweetness, and I'll change my day. I smiled my acceptance. He kissed me. I frowned. What is that scent, Ethan? It's not one I've ever smelled. Oh, I've been locked in a small conference room with Ms. Juarez again. He stood and removed his jacket as he crossed to the bathroom. It's whatever it is she wears. I frowned, watching him rapidly remove his tie and shirt. Must be a big case. It could be, was all he answered. I'm going to shower, and when I return I want you sleeping. You need the rest. I smiled at his concern. I'll see what I can do. Sitting in HRC Medical Center's cafeteria, I sipped hot tea after an appointment with my new OBGYN, contemplating the grilled chicken salad. It looked mouth-watering, and several were devouring it around me. I smelled bacon, and decided I wanted some on my salad. I grabbed my purse and stood. When I turned toward the counter, I crashed into a body. Damn it, I muttered, wishing Ethan didn't have to rush off to the office after we'd seen Dr. Brand. Deep blue eyes stared down at me. My apologies, Mariah, Marcus Cannon murmured, holding me steadily. His grip on my biceps tightened as he studied me. Are you all right? Yeah, I whispered, attempting to release his grasp. I'm just nervous, excited, turned on, humiliated, awkward, uncomfortable, I sighed. I find myself in either emotion whenever I'm around you. Very disconcerting. What must you think of me? Neither of those things, I assure you, he whispered, gesturing to the chair. Please sit. Were you heading to the counter? What would you like? Don't bother, I said, moving back. I'm going home, where I'll try to forget we ever met. He smiled. Until an appointment, maybe. Oh, right. I did decide to have you as my children's doctor, didn't I? I was met with silence. Looking up, I frowned at his saddened, almost pained expression. You could switch, Mariah, if that makes you feel more comfortable. No, I didn't want that at all. Can you forget my clumsiness whenever we meet? Now a charming smile. Well, probably not. I'm afraid I have an eidetic memory. Great, I mumbled, dropping into a chair. At least try not to let it enter your mind whenever you see my face, Marcus. That I can guarantee. It wasn't even in my head when I spotted you upon entering. I smiled. Then I think I'll keep you. I wish you could, he sighed, turning to the counter. May I offer you something to eat? The salads are excellent, I find, and can be built to your specifications. I blushed, nodding. I was actually on my way to grab one when Yeah, allow me. Which would you like? Smiling, I pointed to the next table. Grilled chicken with bacon, walnuts, and dried cranberries. Maybe some watermelon on the side? Laughing, Marcus nodded. Dressing. Drink. Ranch, water. Please. As I waited, I told myself to calm down, but something about that guy. I don't know what it was or could be. I watched him walk to the counter and felt he was just more than a snack and a meal. He was total. He was a smorgasbord, one in which I could not indulge. I couldn't even sample, and it frightened me how much I wanted to do so over many, many hours. Watching him walk was a magnificent event itself. He had a slow, confident, easy stride and appeared not to be in a rush to complete his task. God, I liked that a lot. Marcus returned while I was in my naughty thoughts and lowered across from me with a loaded tray. Sorry they didn't have much watermelon, but I hope this will suffice. He took a water and a salad and slid the tray toward me. I immediately picked up my dressing. I'm sure it will. I was hooked at the first bite and giggled with happiness. It's better than I thought it would be. Thank you, Marcus. Nodding, he smiled. Not necessary, Mariah. We ate in silence, and I abandoned the salad a few times for the watermelon. When I dipped a piece in the ranch, I closed my eyes, not believing I liked the flavor and how much that moan bordered on erotic. Marcus chuckled, making me blush. Sorry, it's the pregnancy. Trust me, I'm not complaining. I laughed. So, tell me about you, Marcus. Not much you don't know. I'm 46, a pediatrician. I have a 22-year-old daughter, and I'm single. I twitched my mouth. I think that's a shame. A shame? Which part? That you're not sharing your life with someone. Don't feel sorry for me, Mariah. It's kind of a choice. Oh. Still, you seem like one of the good ones, and your kindness should be shared with another. May I ask why you're choosing to keep to yourself? I mean, you shared an intimate part of your being with a woman before. Why not make it for life? It wasn't. I didn't. Marcus tapped his fork on the side of his bowl and sighed. I never loved Lila's mother. I wanted to, but it just wasn't there. There was a sexual attraction, and one we acted on frequently, but Adina became pregnant on purpose, and at a time when I was at my most vulnerable. She thought it would force me to marry her. Outside of revulsion at her actions, I felt nothing but contrition, but I couldn't walk away from my child. Once she had birthed Lila, Adina was uninterested. Our daughter has been in my custody since she was born. Lila has only seen her mother twice, and both times were by accident. Soon after the second time, Adina married and relocated to Paris. We haven't seen or heard from her in 15 years. I don't care to at all. I inhaled, thinking of my babies. There's no way I could ever walk away from them. How does Lila feel about it? He shrugged. She doesn't lack female influence, and my sister and mother love her as their own. So has Mandy since joining our family. She's no longer missing anything outside of, I want to say, a mother's love, but she has that from Mother and Evelyn. She She misses love from her mother. Marcus nodded. Please tell me, she doesn't blame herself for her mother's ineptitude. She did, but once she was told the full story, she understood it had nothing to do with her and accepted her life as is with no other regrets. It helped that my parents doted on her while I finished my education and the early years of my career. She knew they were her grandparents, and that I was her father, and I'm grateful she wasn't confused and doesn't hold any resentment toward me. I frowned. Why would she? I wasn't there either. I chose my advancement over rearing her and became a pediatrician. I feel that guilt still, and I spoil her firmly. He beamed, nodding. More so, since she decided to come home after her college graduation last spring. She's interning as a nurse and will possibly advance her studies. She is considering becoming a pediatrician. She sounds like a great kid and is almost your carbon copy. You're not the first to note that Mariah. Marcus laughed deeply, genuinely, and it did all kinds of things to my being. Wanting to fan myself, I cleared my throat. I can't. I feel it too, Marcus nodded. Something about you makes me ache. It started when I spotted you with Monica and Lisa after church a few weeks ago. I talked with Mother. She insisted I leave and promised to make excuses for me. Church. You were in purple. No, that dress was lavender. The shoes were a deep purple, and so was your purse. You were enchanting. At first glance, I wanted to know all about you until I saw the rings on your finger, and it all blew to hell. Lucky man, that Ethan. I swallowed, studying what was left of my salad. And to see you again in that shade at Madison's dinner. I almost ran again, but Joshua spotted me easing to the door and blew that to hell. I'm kinda glad he stopped me, but I hated him for it all in the same instance. I nodded. Forgive me, Mariah, but had I met you first, we'd be married now and Lila would be my daughter, not hers. I immediately blurted and inhaled. I watched emotions play on his face and jumped up. Without another word, I fled the cafeteria and rushed to my car. I started it and raced home, aching for that man. In bed later, my mind stayed on Marcus, just as it had since I fled his company. He had called to make sure I was okay, but I could not answer my cell and settled for the voicemail he left. In it, he sounded concerned and anxious. All I could do was send what I hoped was a reassuring text to ease his mind. All he sent back was, "Thank you." The bedroom door opened. Ethan moved to the bathroom, whistling softly. As he closed that door, the light flickered into the room, and soon the shower was going. I curled on my side, watching the numbers on the clock. Rubbing my belly, I wondered how I had allowed this to happen. Why was I pining over a man I barely knew? Why was I mentally cheating on a husband I barely saw but loved for years? We built a life together, and would soon add another member to our family. We had been married for 9 years. We had our first child 11 months before marrying, and the girls soon followed. I thought we were done with babies, so yes, the baby inside me was a shocker. Though it shouldn't have been, because we'd never used any protection. Still. And now here was Marcus, and it felt right with him. It also felt different than what it did with Ethan. I shuddered thinking that about him once again, believing he and I together was wrong, but why was I feeling this way again? Why now? Marcus, I whispered inside a heated groan. Damn it. Madison was right. I cannot risk my marriage. I love my husband. But Marcus. Ethan slid into bed and moved close to me. Sighing, I turned to him and whispered, "We have to talk." He stiffened and asked about. Well, I started breathing deeply. I believe something is building between. His deep inhale stopped me. Nothing's happened, sweetness. I'm sorry. Ethan sighed. Nothing has happened with me and Alyssa Juarez, but... I gasped. But I wanted her. There was a fleeting attraction, I guess you can say. And nothing else. No, he insisted. I came close to kissing her, but thought better of it. You and our kids are my world, and I can't hurt you. He almost kissed her, but I didn't feel hurt or angry. I couldn't, because he and I were in the same situation. Sighing, I decided I had to tell him about my feelings too. Ethan, I have an attraction for another too. My husband was silent except for his breathing. Ethan, it's just an attraction, nothing more. I shrugged. I honestly don't know, but I've not explored the feeling. I've been avoiding him because something sparks whenever we're around each other. That sounds like Alyssa, and me. Ethan sighed, rolling to his back. In a slow, almost edgy tone, he asked, "Are you no longer in love with me, Mariah?" I don't know what I feel either way. Perhaps we should have stayed east. None of this would have been an issue if we'd stayed in New York. No one there spurred me there but you. I nodded, thinking he was right. Sam, I sighed sadly. Do you want to tell me who he is, Mariah? Not really. I don't know why I asked that question because I don't want to know, but if you don't tell me, I'll take that to mean you want to work things out with me. I stayed silent. Did I want that? Did he? Ethan leaned over me. Mariah. Yes, I whispered. Do you want a divorce? I watched his face. Do you? He stared at me thoughtfully. I don't think we should kill a whole marriage after 9 years and 3.4 kids for attractions. We'll always find others desirable. We're human, but if it's more than that. If you love him, Mariah, you have to tell me. And then what? We figure out if what we're feeling for the others is real or fleeting and carefully. I want to continue loving you and for you to love me in any way, even if we part, if not for each other, then for the sake of our kids. We're forever bonded because of them. I thought on his words and whispered, do you still love me, or do you have love for me? He finally looked away and didn't answer, but I felt in a way he had. His silence spoke volumes. A tear fell. I never wanted to hurt him, yet here we were hurting one another because of what we felt for others. I ached to find what I could build with Marcus, and I had a suspicion Ethan wanted the same thing with that Alyssa person. But do we kill our marriage to be with others we're not sure about and what they wanted with us? Should we stay safe with what we knew and not gamble on others? I don't know how we got here so fast, but I believed we had a new reality that we were scared to explore. Still, was it truly over with Ethan and me? I sobbed, what the hell are we going to do? Ethan held me. If we truly want to be with others, it's best to end things now and move on instead of gliding through with one another and possibly hating or resenting one another over trying to stick it out when it was over long ago. He sighed and stared. If we agree to divorce, I'll move out, and we'll go our separate ways with each other, but know that my kids will always mean the world to me, and I refuse to leave their lives. I'll always make sure you never have a care with money, Mariah, believe that, and it'll hurt like fuck to lose you, so we'll do this as quickly and painlessly as possible. Okay, quickly and painlessly. Do you know what you want to do? I sobbed. Yes. He squeezed me. Okay. I will always love you, Ethan, even after the divorce is settled, and well after. You will always be welcome wherever I live. I think it would be best if we put this house on the market as soon as possible so you can recoup the money you put into it. We're not doing that, Mariah. You love it here, and you choose everything in here, including the house. I'm going to remove my name, so it will be placed in yours only. I'll make sure you have the funds to run it as you have been. You will live here with the kids with no worries. Okay, if you're sure, I wept. I'm sorry it has come to this. Me too. Ethan held me, and I sighed when he kissed me. I returned it passionately, but still Marcus was in my head. For now I had to get rid of all thoughts of him, and sex with my husband should do that effectively. I assumed this was going to be goodbye sex. I mean, it would be the last time with us, and that's what I needed to concentrate on, not Marcus Alexander Cannon. Not yet. Ethan's hand slid to my bottom and he squeezed. I pressed closer, ignoring my bump, and moaned. Ethan pushed me to my back, and still kissing me, eased his hand between my legs and slowly caressed. It shot a thrilling sensation through my being, but it just felt wrong. I released a loud gasp and sat up, breathing heavily. This was not what I wanted. Ethan was no longer who I wanted. I'd fallen completely for Marcus. So yes, Ethan and I had to end. We couldn't even participate in goodbye sex because it was making me feel wretched. Ethan rubbed my back with care. I sighed when my breathing calmed, ready to tell Ethan that sex could not happen. We were officially over in every way. Baby. I turned in shocked. I found another man in my bed. Marcus. He amusingly answered yes. Why are you in my bed? I'm in our bed because I was tired. I lay close and kissed you goodnight, but you attacked my mouth, and now I'm completely riled up. Lie down so I can finish what you started. I jumped out of bed and held my hands against my belly, which was nowhere near the size it was when I lay down. What happened? Something is off. I'm still asleep and confused. And, wait. Damn it all, I screamed, figuring out that Ethan as my husband was a dream. Mariah. A goddamn another one, I shouted at Marcus. I can't believe this has happened again. He frowned. What's happened, baby? Nothing, I sighed finally. Just forget it. Gladly. Now come back to bed. I stared at Marcus and slowly moved toward him. Pushing me down, his mouth moved close, but before he could kiss me again, I yelped and moved away again. His tone dripping with complete frustration, Marcus demanded, what now, baby? I ran to the closet. I slammed the door, and Marcus banged on it with his fist. I locked it, panting hard, feeling nothing but guilt. I believed I had cheated on my husband and it wrecked me. Mariah, come out of there. Let's talk about what's gotten you annoyed. No. I paced the floor, guilt searing through every cell, and cried. The banging started again, and I ignored it, wanting to flee the world. As I tried to think of what to do, Marcus called out, "All right, baby, I'll give you space, but not too much." Fuck. I'm going to shower and try to cool off. I picked up the house phone and dialed. Amy sleepily answered whichever can and come. You or this had better be good, because I just closed my eyes and was too close to sleeping like a newborn should so be warned. Amy, I cried into the phone. What's wrong, Mariah? I sobbed at the concern in her tone and whimpered I cheated on Marcus. I heard a sigh. Are you guys playing gin again? I whimpered. No, I cheated by kissing another man. What she asked in an unbelieving tone. Cookie, stopped channeling Matthew and quit with the jokes. I'm sleepy. You know we had a long day and I'm feeling it. I insisted. Amy, listen. I kissed Ethan, and it wasn't pecks on the cheek. There was tongue involved. And petting. Lots and lots of petting. And the man fingered me. I sobbed again, and Amy growled, "You two did not do this, Mariah." There is no way. I didn't think there was either, but we did. And our kids could have walked in on us at any moment. What the hell were we thinking? That woman snapped. Obviously you were not, damn it. I cannot believe the two of you. Did either of you consider how your respective spouses would feel? And the parents? The kids? What was our game tournament again, and you two shuffled off somewhere? No, I sobbed. We were in the closet getting ready for church the first time, and he wished for a kiss, so I gave it to him. Kissed in a closet? Amy said slowly. Go on. Tom busted us and said that it was time for Sunday service. Donnie styled his hair with douche water, but the girls were so cute in their flower dresses. Girls, Amy tittered. And Lila is Adana's daughter, I cried. She's not mine. Okay, she soothed. What next? We had breakfast, went to church, and on to lunch. Matthew declared he was my second husband, found Madison for me, and now they're together. I kissed Ethan again a few minutes ago after he confessed he was attracted to Alyssa and inquired if I wanted a divorce, but neither of us could give a good answer at first, and now Marcus is pissed because I turned him on and left him hanging. Hanging? Yes. He was erect and wanted me, but I cheated. I can't figure out how to tell him what I've done with my brother, I wailed. What now, Amy? Help me. Cookie, she sighed into my ear. Calm down, wash your face, then go fuck your husband. What? I gasped. Right after cheating on him? Mariah, Amy cooed. Honey, think about what you're saying. I can easily see Donnie snooping around your bathroom and using douche water, but all that other stuff. I mean, Lila is Adana's daughter. Girls, you and Marcus only have one, so. And Tom caught you and Ethan making out and didn't rip both of you a new one? And Madison and Matthew are just now getting together? Cookie, it was all a dream. I know that, Amy, but I still kissed Ethan. In a dream that came after a session where we explored the what-ifs in Monica's book. It tells me I'm right in my thinking when it comes to your relationship with Ethan, but I'll elaborate since you probably weren't paying attention when I spoke on it due to your husband being an ass. You were right when you turned down Ethan all those years ago. Neither of you needed a dalliance between you hanging over your heads while you went through life. Those kisses were bad enough. And now, even in the dream, you agree Marcus is it for you, and you kissing another man in a dream is wrecking your psyche. I'm advising that you chalk it up to Monica's reveal and let it go. Mariah, you didn't cheat. Your head went there because it was prompted to do so. You're fine, you're happy, you are still completely in love with Marcus. And all you need to do is get off the phone with me, wash your tear-stained face, and fuck your husband like you hate him. I stared at the phone in shock. Are you sure? Cookie, listen. Matthew wrote about that trial and our discussion about you in his memoir. Read that again, and if you need more help to let it go, recall what you said on the stand about your unwillingness to hurt your husband in any way. I listened to her thinking I did sound absolutely ridiculous. I reread that entire scene in Monica's book with Ethan and me right before I closed my eyes for the night. I was attempting to stay up for Marcus, and chose to read to help with that, but I nodded off right after I read the story. And now I believe Ethan and I were idiots for kissing. We shouldn't have, no matter how attracted we felt toward one another. Do I tell Marcus? Amy snorted. Do you want him to behave in the same way he did after finding out about you and Ethan? I giggled. I kinda do. He'll probably act like he does when the Bears lose, or someone says something about them that he finds stupid or insulting. I wonder if that'll happen tomorrow. Amy tittered. Let's hope someone does for your sake. Let's force that to happen. How about, well, let's all go do something girly, maybe get our nails done or shop before Danny goes home, and meet up for dinner with the men after, okay? Sure. I'll call Monica in the morning and see what she has planned, and we'll go from there. Expect a call from me either way. I sighed hearing a door slam. Marcus was no longer in the bathroom. Amy? Yeah. I'm going to clean my face and go fuck my husband now. She laughed. I would say have fun, but I think that'll be redundant. Good night, Mariah. I giggled and ended the call. Creeping out of the closet, I peeked in the bedroom. Marcus was in bed, lying on his back under the sheet and staring out of the picture window. I went into the bathroom and washed my face, then I slid into the bed beside him. Moving close, I wrapped his arm around me and mine draped him. I kissed his bare, cool chest. His arm tightened around me, and I heard a sigh that wrecked me. He was beyond tense, and that made me feel so much worse. Do we need to talk? Yeah, I whispered. Where do we start? I don't know. I do want to tell you something, but I need you to try to stay calm. Marcus sat up, and I could tell he was bracing himself. Go on, Mariah, he urged, staring at his entwined fingers. Say it fast. I kissed Ethan. He snorted. I remember. No, Marcus, I meant tonight. Excuse me? He slowly turned his head my way. When? I sat up. His eyes never left my face. While I was kissing you, I think. He was confused. How? I read that passage in Monica's book about him and me all those years ago while waiting for you to return from your emergency, and nodded off. In a dream, Ethan, and I had married and lived in New York. We moved here where I finally met you. You had a daughter with that woman, and she looked like you in every way. That woman still bailed, and Ethan and I had 3 kids, and were expecting another. And then you met me, and both of us, I stated, looking away. We had this physical thing happening, but before we could act on it, I ran away. I went to bed and told Ethan something was going on, and he confessed there was something between him and Alyssa. We were discussing separating and don't stop there, go on. I stared at him. Well, he kissed me, and I guess that's when you came to bed and kissed me too, and I responded. Even in your dreams, I'm the one for you. Chuckling, Marcus lay down and pulled me with him. And here I thought you were about to tell me you no longer wanted me. I frowned at him. What? I was beginning to believe you wanted a divorce. You may not know it, but tonight was not the first time you refused me, baby. Do you realize we haven't had sex in months? I frowned. That's not true. Mariah Tristan is now 4 months old, and the last time was when he was 6 weeks. Twice that night and nothing since. The vasectomy was a week before his birth, so I know that's not why you turned me away. What else was I supposed to believe was happening? Not that I screeched. How could you even think to put that in your head canon? We're usually at one another so much, and to go so long without. I know that we've both been busy and tired, but there was no other clear reason as to why we weren't fucking Mariah. Making love. Sex. Whatever you want to call it, we were not doing it. I miss it clearly, but you didn't seem to care, so I thought, well, that you no longer wanted me, and that was the excuse or reason for our lapse. Shaking my head, I removed my gown and climbed on top of my husband. I pressed myself to his chest and kissed that man like I used to how I felt. It was impassioned, seductive, and slow, and he immediately responded and took over. Marcus was wild and passionate with me, bending, twisting, flipping, fucking, grinding, moaning, and biting. It all reminded me of us in the beginning before Donnie and Alex, when I denied him before he knew of my pregnancy. In the early morning hours, we tried to go to sleep. Marcus' leg covered mine, and he pressed against me, whispering, I love you, baby, and I missed you so much. I missed you too. From now on, you tell me when we lack, but I'm going to try like hell to not allow that to happen again, boo. I'll delegate more and focus mostly on the kids and you. Kids all day and you all night after Matthew finds us a night nanny. He squeezed me. I like those ideas and look forward to our nights when we're not too exhausted. Agreed, I sighed and slapped his thigh. Divorce indeed. What did I tell you, Cannon? That you love me, he answered sheepishly. And that you'd only leave me if I lied or cheated. Divorce, I scoffed. I peeked back at him. Mine. Yours, baby, he said and kissed my nose. And I'm yours always. Now, in case we skip any passionate nights, I have an idea. Go on. What if on Sunday mornings we have sex regardless? I mean, we wake early, take care of personal business, and then each other before we get ready for services, and do so no matter how much or little sex we've had during the week. Sunday morning is guaranteed, and we'll do nothing but sin with one another." He chuckled again. I like the sound of that baby, and look forward to every sin day for the rest of my life. I giggled and closed my eyes. Now so was I,